Have you ever reached out, truly reached out, with your heart wide open, believing someone would meet you there, only to be met with silence? You shared your dream. You prayed in faith. You obeyed God when it would have been easier to play it safe. You thought someone would say, "I see you. I'm with you." But no one did. Not a call, not a message, not a single voice saying, "I believe in you." And that silence? It's deafening. Not because it's loud, but because it's empty. The truth is, the deepest pain is rarely caused by enemies. It's caused by friends who go quiet when you need them the most. You thought your faith journey would bring people closer. Instead, it exposed a distance you didn't expect. And you're left standing with the question nobody says out loud, but everyone feels, "God, why does it feel like I'm the only one still believing?" Maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe you gave up a good job to follow God's whisper. Maybe you stayed faithful in a small ministry for years, while others passed you by. Maybe you've been walking in obedience and nothing around you seems to show fruit. And on top of that, you're walking alone. Let me speak into that ache today. This message is not for the popular, the praised, or the comfortable. It's for the one who feels overlooked, misunderstood, and unsupported. If that's you, hear me clearly. You are not forgotten. You are not failing, and you are definitely not alone. Because it is precisely in this silence, this absence of applause, this lack of support, that God is doing His most important work. You see, when people stop showing up, God leans in. When human voices fall silent, heaven begins to speak louder. And even though you feel abandoned by those you trusted, it may be the very evidence that God is teaching you what it means to stand, not on the approval of others, but on the unshakable foundation of His presence. Sometimes the reason no hand is reaching back is because God is lifting you Himself. And that changes everything. Ready to walk deeper into that? Let's go there together. Now let's talk about something that doesn't get said out loud enough, but every chosen one eventually faces. What do you do when no one supports you? Not your family, not your friends, not even the people you thought would stand by your side when you said yes to God. And let me be very clear, this isn't happening because there's something wrong with you. It's not because you're not anointed. It's not because you're on the wrong path. In fact, it's often the opposite. This lack of support, it might just be confirmation that you are exactly where God wants you. You see, when your calling doesn't come from people, it also can't be sustained by people. Your anointing is not built on human applause, it is rooted in divine purpose. And sometimes God has to remove every other voice so you can recognize which voice truly matters. It's not about rejection, it's about redirection. He's shifting your reliance from people who can only go so far to the one who carries no limits. Think about Gideon. He started with thousands of men ready for battle. But God reduced his army again and again until there were only a few hundred left. Why? So that when the victory came, no one could say, "We did this." The glory had to belong to God alone. Or consider Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, left in a prison cell. At every point, it looked like no one supported him. But behind the scenes, God was orchestrating something Joseph couldn't yet see, positioning him to become the very man who would save nations. And this isn't just ancient history. It happens in our world today. Christine Caine, founder of the A21 campaign, shared how, when God first gave her the vision to fight human trafficking, even people inside the church questioned her. They told her she was dreaming too big. Some thought she was being unrealistic. But God didn't call her to be understood. He called her to be obedient. And now, A21 is rescuing and restoring lives across the globe. Why? Because one woman refused to be stopped by the silence of others and chose to follow the voice of God instead. So if you're walking through this season right now, where the ones who should be cheering you on are silent, or maybe even skeptical, don't let that make you question your assignment. Not everyone can see what God whispered to you in prayer. Not everyone has the capacity to carry what you've been entrusted with. Sometimes their silence isn't rooted in hate, it's rooted in fear. Fear that you might be wrong. Or worse, fear that you might actually succeed. And let's be honest, There are moments when the people closest to us don't support us, not because they don't love us, but because our obedience challenges their comfort. Your decision to walk in faith might highlight their hesitation. Your calling to step out might confront their choice to stay where it's safe. But what if God is allowing this? What if His plan is to grow your ears for heaven by turning down the volume of every other voice? What if this silence is not abandonment, but alignment, positioning you to hear Him more clearly than ever before? Friend, if you feel alone in your calling, don't assume you've missed it. You might be right in the middle of God's design, and the one who called you is also the one who will carry you. Keep walking, keep trusting, keep leaning into His voice, because even when no one else is clapping, heaven is still moving. And that's more than enough. So what happens when the people fall away, and all you have left is God? This is where it gets real. Because no matter how mature you are in your faith, no matter how many verses you've memorized or sermons you've preached, nothing quite prepares you for the silence of a season when you're walking alone. And not alone in the physical sense, but spiritually alone. Misunderstood, unseen, uncelebrated. This is the season that tests even the strongest of believers. It's when you wake up and think, God, am I still on the right path? Or worse, did I imagine this calling? Was it really you? This isn't the season of applause, it's the season of obscurity. And I want to tell you, not to discourage you, but to prepare you, that this may be one of the most sacred and transformative times of your life. Because while the world sees isolation as punishment, heaven often uses it as preparation. Remember David? When he showed up at the battlefield, just a young man with a bag of bread, his brothers mocked him. They didn't see a warrior. They didn't see a king. They saw an annoying little brother. But God saw something they didn't. And in the middle of rejection, God released David's moment of destiny. Or think about Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane. His closest disciples, men who had seen miracles, who had heard the voice of God, who had declared their loyalty, fell asleep. Not once, but again and again. When Jesus needed companionship the most, He found none. But He still went forward. Why? Because there are some assignments that require complete dependence, not just on community, but on the Father alone. Now let's bring that into our world today. Take Tyler Perry, for example. Before he became a household name, before he built one of the largest film studios in the country, he was sleeping in his car, writing plays that no one came to see. Friends told him to give up. Church folks said he should stop dreaming so big. He heard the criticism. He felt the isolation, but he didn't stop. Because deep in his spirit, God had spoken something louder than the noise around him. And today millions have heard the gospel through his work. Not because he had a crowd behind him, but because he learned how to walk with God when no one else would walk with him. So if that's where you are right now, if you're feeling the weight of walking alone, hear me. You're not crazy, and you're not cursed. You're being carved into something holy. God is stripping away every crutch, every distraction, every need for external validation. And He's teaching you something sacred, how to walk in step with Him. Even when you hear nothing but your own footsteps. And here's a powerful truth most people don't tell you. Sometimes your greatest clarity comes not in the crowd, but in the quiet. Not when you're surrounded, but when you're set apart. The enemy wants you to believe that no one standing with you means something is wrong with you. But sometimes it's because God is entrusting you with something He can't whisper in a noisy room. He needs your full attention. And often, the only way to get that is solitude. This is not rejection. It's refinement. Not abandonment. It's alignment. God isn't punishing you. He's preparing you. And when the time is right, He will bring the right people, the right opportunities, and the right resources to support the vision He placed in you. But for now, He's enough. Let that truth settle deep in your spirit. For now, He is enough, and He's all you need. Now let's slow down and take a deeper look at what's really happening inside of you during this season. Because while everything on the outside might look quiet, unchanging, even discouraging, something powerful is happening beneath the surface. And maybe no one sees it. Maybe no one claps for it. But God does, because He's not building something visible just yet. He's building something eternal, and He always starts with the foundation before He ever reveals the structure. You see, this is not a season of performance. It's a season of preparation. God is not rushing you to produce fruit. He's deepening your roots, because He knows that when the storm comes, it's not your gifting that will keep you standing. It's your character. It's your secret place life. It's your ability to remain faithful when no one's watching. And that kind of strength is only built in the hidden places. Think of what the psalmist wrote in Psalm 139. I was woven together in the secret place. That word woven speaks of intentionality, of time, of detail. God does not rush His masterpieces. When He's forming a vessel of purpose, He does it in stillness, in obscurity, in quiet obedience. The spotlight comes later. Right now, He's working in the soil of your soul. During this time, God is unlearning you from needing applause. He's detaching your value from external results. He's showing you that your calling is not measured by likes, by attendance, by compliments, or even by speed. It's measured by obedience, by purity, by humility. And those are things the world rarely celebrates, but heaven treasures deeply. Let me give you a real example. Jackie Hill Perry. She's known now as a powerful Bible teacher, poet, and voice of truth in this generation. But what most people forget is that she came out of a background of brokenness and rejection. When she first walked away from her former lifestyle to follow Christ, she wasn't met with applause. She was met with skepticism, even from other believers. People didn't believe her transformation. She was criticized, misunderstood, and often walked alone. But she stayed faithful. She let God do a deep, slow, quiet work inside her. And now that work is bearing fruit. Not flashy fruit. Lasting fruit. The kind of fruit that speaks not of talent, but of transformation. That's what God is doing in you. He's not just preparing you to be seen. He's preparing you to carry something sacred, something weighty. And if it takes longer than you thought, that's not failure, it's mercy. Because when God takes His time, it's always because He's crafting something that cannot be shaken. So if it feels like nothing is happening, if it feels like everyone else is being launched while you're still in the shadows, don't lose heart. You're not being passed over, you're being planted. And everything planted must stay hidden for a time. Its roots must grow deep before its branches can reach wide. That's not delay. That's divine design. Let Him do the deep work. Let Him prune. Let Him purify. Let Him stretch you in the silence. Because what He's building in you right now is not just for this season. It's for every season that's still to come. And when He brings you into the open, what He's grown in private will speak louder than any platform ever could. This isn't about impressing people. This is about impacting eternity. And that takes time. Let God take His time with you. You're worth it. Now that we've talked about what God is doing inside of you, let's talk about your response, because how you respond in this season matters just as much as what you're walking through. This is the part that requires maturity, not emotion, not impulse, but deep spiritual maturity that says, even when I feel rejected, I will not react in the flesh. I will respond in faith. Let's be real. When no one supports you, it's tempting to try harder to prove yourself. It's easy to start explaining, defending, maybe even overposting or overperforming, just hoping someone will say, I see you. But what if this season isn't about being seen by others? What if it's about being secure in the one who already sees you fully? In 2 Timothy chapter 4, the Apostle Paul wrote, At my first defense, no one stood with me, but the Lord stood with me and gave me strength. Paul wasn't bitter. He wasn't blaming. He was grounded, because he knew that even when every human voice went silent, God's presence never left his side. And friend, the same is true for you. This is not the time to chase applause. It's the time to chase alignment. It's not the season to explain yourself to people who weren't part of your assignment. It's the season to say, Lord, you called me, and if you called me, you'll sustain me. Let me give you a real story that speaks to this kind of response. You may have heard of Bethany Hamilton. She was a teenage surfing prodigy who lost her arm in a shark attack. People told her career was over. Some said her dream was too broken to recover. But instead of falling into despair or chasing validation, Bethany chose to trust God's process. She didn't just survive, she came back stronger. She returned to surfing, won competitions, and used her story to glorify God. Today, she's not just known for what she overcame, but for how she responded. With faith, not fear. With focus, not frustration. And that's your invitation too. You can either spend this season resenting who's not standing with you, or you can use it to build a deeper walk with the one who never leaves your side. One path leads to bitterness. The other leads to breakthrough. Here's a truth that may surprise you. Not everyone who is silent is against you. Some are quiet because they're watching. Others are praying. And some simply don't have the faith yet to understand the kind of call God has placed on your life. That's okay. God didn't ask them to carry your assignment. He asked you. So guard your heart. Don't let disappointment turn into disobedience. Don't let discouragement push you off course. And above all, don't let your need for human affirmation drown out the only voice that truly matters. Now is not the time to seek crowds. Now is the time to seek Christ. This is where your roots grow deep. This is where your heart gets aligned. This is where your motives get purified. Don't look for the stage. Look for the secret place. Don't look for the light of man. Look for the light of His Word. Because the truth is, some of the most powerful work God will ever do through you will begin in the silence. When your hands are lifted, your knees are bent, and your heart says, even if no one else goes with me, I'm still going with you. That's the kind of response that shakes heaven. That's the kind of obedience that changes generations. And that's the kind of chosen one God is raising you to be. So now we've come to the part of the journey that most people don't see coming. What happens after this season? After the silence, after the tears, after the hidden years when you felt passed over, misunderstood, unsupported. What happens when God says, now, step forward? Let me tell you something that may not sound dramatic, but it will mark you forever. God does not waste hidden seasons. He multiplies from them. You see, while you were walking through the valley, He was establishing your roots. While others were running ahead, He was refining your integrity. While the crowd was distracted by noise, God was building a vessel in secret that would one day carry His glory without cracking under pressure. And when the time is right, not your time, not their time, but His perfect time, He will bring you out of obscurity and into purpose, not to show you off, but to show Himself through you. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10 says it so clearly. After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to His eternal glory in Christ, will Himself restore you, confirm you, strengthen you, and establish you. Do you hear that? God Himself, not people, not promotion, not popularity. God Himself will restore and establish you. And when God establishes something, no one can shake it. Take Jeremy Lin as an example. Before the world knew his name, he was benched, overlooked, dismissed by team after team. He said in interviews that many nights he cried out to God alone. No coach believed in him. No crowd backed him. But one day, one unexpected moment, everything shifted. And what we now remember as Linsanity wasn't just about basketball. It was about a man who chose to honor God in private, and when God lifted him up in public, He still gave all the glory back to the one who carried him through the silence. That's what happens when you endure, when you stay faithful, when you refuse to abandon your assignment just because no one is clapping. God will bring you into the room He prepared for you, not a moment too soon, and never a moment too late. But here's the key. You won't walk in with pride. You'll walk in with oil. Oil that was pressed in Gethsemane. Oil that was formed in the midnight hours. Oil that can't be bought, only carried by those who've paid the price in secret. And when you speak, it will carry weight. When you lead, it will carry authority. Not because of you, but because of the one who built you while no one was watching. So don't despise the silence. Don't curse the process. Don't rush what God is refining. He is shaping something inside of you that can withstand storms, steward influence, and reflect His heart. Chosen one, hear this. You're not behind. You're being prepared. You're not forgotten. You're being refined. And you're not disqualified. You're being distinguished. And when your moment comes, when God opens the door no man can shut, you won't need to prove yourself. You'll simply walk through it with peace, with grace, and with a depth that only comes from time spent in the secret place. You don't need the world's affirmation to move forward. You just need the Father's whisper. And He's been whispering all along. I see you. I've been with you. And I'm not done with you. So take heart. This is not the end of your story. It's the foundation of your testimony. Stay the course. Stay faithful. And when the time is right, God will unveil what He's been doing in secret. And it will be beautiful. Not because it's flashy, but because it's holy. And the world will know this one has been with God. And that changes everything.